There we go. Right. So I will share my screen if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Susan and I we've been talking because there's a lot of people who talk about needing more clients, but it's very different depending on where you are in the state of your business. So if you've just started, some strategies work, but others won't, obviously, or it's a challenge. If you are much more established, then you've got a different take on some of the marketing things. So we've tried to pick 3 ways to start marketing that will just help anybody, perhaps in lots of different ways. So first of all, referrals is always the obvious one, isn't it? And so everybody will tell you that there is this is the cheapest and best ways, because if you've got somebody who can pass a lead to you that they already know, it's already built that know, like, and trust system in here. And I think there's a big decision to make at the beginning. So if you're just growing, or if you need to grow because A, you've not got enough clients, or B, there is a financial need to grow, then you have to make a decision, really, don't you, between any client versus your ideal client. If you need to grow, then you just need to take on any client, frankly. You just need the money, don't you? And so there is that at the beginning, we all take on any client, but to bear in mind who your ideal client is always important. So you don't take on the nightmare clients, but you do take on maybe ones that would have been a C or a D in your ideal client. Probably a C, not a D. C's in your ideal client, just so you can get the money in. But more importantly, when you are asking for referrals, to make sure that your existing clients know who you're looking for, who your ideal client is. Because there's nothing more embarrassing than being passed a referral and then actually realizing you don't want them. You can't really turn them away because the client said, oh, I've got somebody I think would love to work with you. And so you have to take them on board, whether they're great or not. So it's really, really important that during the process, you make sure that your clients know your ideal client. And so for me, it's really important that you understand that perhaps even on the basic things, like on your agendas for meetings, it's really clear that you're going to ask for a referral. So, somewhere on the agenda it says, is there anybody else that you think I can help? But also maybe even at the bottom, you put a little box that says, the people I really want to work with are like this, just in a little box at the bottom. So they've got a bit of an idea. Now, there is an AVM resource, and I'm just going to stop my share because I'm not sure if I've put that to share my screen. So I'm just going to share my screen. Yeah, I'm just going to put it here. So move that out of the way. So there is a whole referral system here in System Builder. If I just pull that up so you can see it. And that shows you all the different things about referral. So just to make sure that you've got an idea that there are lots of ways of doing it. And also the most simple way, like I said before, is to actually think about how you can talk to people about the sort of people you want to help. So for me, that's the most key point, really, is about ensuring that when you're asking referrals, you're being very clear about the sort of people you want to work with. But having said that, if you're just in a need for growth phase, just bear in mind that, you don't want a D, but you're willing to take on people who are not necessarily ideal. The second thing we want to talk about is about being visible, because we often, well, it's just natural, really, I think, probably for us accountants, is that we like to sit in the office and just get on with our work and do stuff. And actually, we're not really those gregarious people who are out there being very visible a lot of the time. I'm not saying that some of you aren't, because some of you are, some of you are really good at doing that. But I think it's about thinking about how you can be visible. So first of all, if you've got an office on the high street, thinking about making sure you're visible, because even if people don't walk through the door, you're there in front of them. So I've got some examples. So there's Highton, Highton have 3 offices. This is their London one. And as you can see, they've got their design, but they've also got a really nice open front window that just basically shows them, come into our inviting space. This one is Arc Aurora, and they're in Birmingham. And as you can see, they're actually on the corner. And so they've put their sign in where the main road will see it. So there's a big main road down here. And then there's like these 2 little roads that go off the main road. So as you're coming along the main road, and to be honest, it's a really busy main road and you're stuck in traffic for a long time. Having been on that road, I know it's very slow, but actually you get time to see their whole stuff. And, they talk a little bit about their services on there. And I've put MDHs on just as an option because not that it's a super duper front shop, but that it's lit up at night. I was saying to Susan, it's really weird, isn't it? But we don't think about this, that as the winter draws in for people and it gets darker, people don't see your shut front. They just see the lights coming out of your window. They don't see who you are. So I just thought that was a really good idea. And one of the, I think the only one really that sort of gives you a little bit, you can't see it on this picture, is that this one actually talks about some of the services they offer. And I think that's perhaps where we're missing out on these two, as Susan brought it to my attention, is that, they say they're accountants, which is great, good start, but we're not actually promoting all the different things that we do. So if you have got a shop front, fine. But we know that the majority of people don't have so much as a shop front. They may have an office. It might be inside a house, or it might be inside a business park or something like that. So making sure that, again, you're doing something that encourages people to see you. So here, Heelan, they have their welcome place for their clients is called the Heelan Hub. And you can see that it's got a lovely comfy place. This picture is on their website, and you can see that's about. Or it might be that, you just have pull-up banners that you can move around. So again, I know somebody who was in a business park, but they were allowed to put a big pull-up banner down in reception promoting what they do, or outside their door. So if you've been to AVN events where we've been at other venues, you'll often see us with banners all over the place, particularly if you've got to go up a set of stairs or round a corner or whatever, you'll see banners almost pointing you the way. But each banner will have something that's important to you. Have you got any comments, Susan, about this? Because you've done
I just think it's really important to sort of connect with your potential clients in that way. Otherwise, all they see is accountancy, and without any kind of idea of the kind of clients you work with or the kind of services you provide and how you can help them. So it's communicating again, as you do in so many other ways, what it's like to work with you, how you can help, and just being visible. I mean, it is just that thing, as we said, of being visible, however you want to do it. It could even be something in even if you are in a business centre, something on your window, couldn't it? Just to show the sort of things that you do.
And I think it's a bit creative as well, because the amount of accountants I visited where basically it's just a plaque on a door because they're upstairs above something or whatever else. And even then, the plaque on the door is often really boring. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing to distinguish it from anybody else. Or they may, like you said, have something on the glass on a door or a window, but it's nothing that tells you whether or not you want to go in and talk to them. So I think it's about just sort of standing out a little bit from the crowd, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Obviously, for most people, where the difference comes is obviously on the website. So when you think about the website, that's where most people see you. Susan, I'm just going to check there's nobody is there anybody in the waiting room?
No, I let somebody in.
Oh, you let them in. That was all right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, oh gosh, I don't remember that. Letting people in. Okay. So, and I think the website is where most people have their shop window, as to speak, these days, don't they? We expect people to look for us. So again, I just wanted to point you to a few resources. So the AVN resource, there is a whole new one. Can you see that, Susan?
Yes, yeah, can see that now.
Brilliant, yeah. Okay, so this is one we've recently created, which is we've pulled together some of the key resources that we've found about the website, and Susan's going to talk a lot more about that in a minute. There was already a really great resource that Susan had created on creating a brilliant website. And there was already a little webinar and workbook that Patrick McLaughlin had done for us about how to attract your ideal clients. So I've put them in. And we will be talking about using Google My Business. So these link directly to some websites with articles on how to use them that have done that. And also we're going to talk today about how you can create some blogs and stuff to do it. So this is a great little resource that we can use to help you sort of think about how you finesse your website. Okay. So Susan, would you like to go through that AVN resource if I just pull it up?
Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just move that out of my way so I can pull up the resource.
I'm not going to go through everything.
You want? Can you take control of that, Susan? Have I given you control?
I'm not sure. I don't think I can control anything.
Oh my goodness me.
You might have to be my lovely assistant.
Okay, well, I'll be your lovely assistant then.
Okay.
A bit bigger.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, so I'm hoping you've already all got a website of some description. And this whole resource really covers every aspect of it. The thing I wanted to focus on today, since we're talking about being visible, is the SEO side of things, which I think if you go down, Emma, yeah, that one. Because it's all very well having a website, but you need to have your website found when people are looking for you. And there's so many people will say, oh, we can get you to the top of the search results on Google. You can pay people to do that. Obviously, there's paid advertising, but there's absolutely no guarantee that you can get onto the top of the Google results. And I think SEO it's not a dark art, it's a very complicated art. It's constantly changing. Google and other search engines will update their algorithms. And unless you're an SEO specialist, I think keeping on top of that it's a full-time job. So what we wanted to talk about today is really just the basics of getting the basics right, so that if people are searching, for example, for an accountant in your area, because that's a really common search term, accountant near me, that you'll come up in the search results somewhere, hopefully with lots of good things on your website that will make them stay there, take a look round, and hopefully contact you. So the things I wanted to focus on, are these key elements. What Google, I think when Google is something like 94% of all search engine use is Google. So we're sticking to Google, obviously. But their key metric is to make the content that shows up on the search results relevant to what people are searching for. So matching that is absolutely key. And what this actually isn't on this document, but what Google has 4 different things that they look for in the content that they bring up, which are experience, which is something they just added in December 2022, which is really, it could be things like first-hand experience of using a product, for example, which may not be relevant to you, but you could include a client story and client testimonials. I think that would fit in with the experience side of things. Expertise. So if you're talking about, I don't know, claiming VAT or something like that, what you're saying is right. I guess that's the right word, that what you're saying is accurate, that you're giving the right information out. And we've got authority is the other one. And this can be, a lot of these things kind of overlap a bit actually, but authority, obviously, if you're a chartered accountant, you've got authority because you've got kind of proven credentials. And I'm just checking my quick notes that I made earlier. You've got perhaps links to your governing body. That also shows your authority. So it's kind of your overall reputation. And the other one is trustworthiness. So if your website, we'll go on to this in a minute, is, for example, on Google My Business, that's showing that, you know, you've got physical presence, you've got phone numbers, you've got email addresses, you're a trustworthy presence on the website, on the web. That also helps. And there's things also that fit into this, like if you've got a blog by somebody in your team, if you name the person who's written it and link to their profile on your Meet the Team page, you're again establishing authority, trust, and expertise all together. So those are things just to bear in mind. And yeah, so this list of SEO basics really is that your content is up to date. If everything on your website is from 5, 6, 7 years ago, it's not going to rank very highly. It's not going to get found because there will be other much more up-to-date content that's going to supersede it. Relevant to the search results, as I said. And I think if you, well, we'll actually go on to this in a little bit later, I think, when we talk about writing blogs, how to make your content relevant to what people are looking for. And engaging, which also comes into the sort of the blogging section. So searchable keywords, well, making your content searchable is really important. So if you've got a page on your website that's just one big solid block of text, that's going to be difficult for any search engine to read and to understand, so that whether they know whether it's relevant or not. So if you use headings, subheadings, break up the text so it's easy to skim, because people online are very impatient. So if you can just skim a page and see, oh yeah, I can see all those headings, that's exactly what I'm looking for, they'll stick around and read the rest of it. So that's using H1, H2, H3 headings when you're putting something on your website. Oh, actually, one thing I should have said straight away is mobile friendly. If your website's mobile friendly, that's a really high factor for Google. So that is really important.
I think it's really important anyway, because a lot of people, they're skimming on their phones in the evening, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're not going on their computers as such. They're usually using their phones, aren't they? So it's
absolutely really yeah. And so you should make sure always that whatever you put on there is easy to read on a phone as well as on a desktop. Other things that Google values are page speed. So if it's really, really slow to load up, it's really a hindrance, I think. And also security. So if you've got HTTPS websites that are, I don't even know what the word is. I don't know, kind of security validated. I don't know what the word is. But again, that's an issue if you're not. And you've probably all come across websites that say this website is not safe, you know, take me back to safety. And you don't want to be one of those, definitely. Things like images. If you're using images on your website, and again, it's a really good idea to do that because it just makes it a lot more visually appealing. Make sure that the titles of your images and the alt text reflects the content of whatever page they're on. I mean, the alt text is the text that shows up if the image isn't available. So just make sure that fits with what you're writing about.
I can imagine a lot of people miss that because you sort of just save it as a file name, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you upload it, and then that's all they see is whatever the file name is.
Exactly. Yeah. So
but again, that's missing a search opportunity, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, all of these, they're small, they may be small things, but all together, if you put them all together, they add up. It's kind of like hygiene for your website, I think, basic hygiene. Something else that will come up I think particularly in terms of blogs, is how long a blog should be. And if you look like what length of blog is best, everything, when I've been researching this, that long form, like 1,000, 2,000 words, which are huge articles, and that I don't think that actually is necessarily true, that the longer the better. I think what you need to think is, whatever you're writing about, whatever the page is about, is as long as it needs to be. So don't pad it out, don't make it short. Just use whatever the information you have on there, whatever you're writing about. Make sure that you've got enough content in there for it to be valuable to the reader. And that really is the most important thing. What else? Internal links. Yeah, Google likes those. So if you've got, say, a couple of blog posts on related content, put a link at the bottom as a call to action. Why not read this other article on VAT or tax returns or whatever? And again, that shows your kind of authority on that subject and your expertise on that subject. And external links are also quite useful. Again, Google likes to see those. Obviously, you want people to stay in your own website. But if, for example, it's to your governing body, or you've got quotes in a blog, you could link to the source for that quote. That's also really, really helpful. And I think if you cover all those things, those are really a good starting point for your website. You don't have to go into it too deeply, but just looking at those aspects will really help. And I don't know what else we've got if we go down the page a little bit.
I mean, one of the things that I often say to people, obviously this just gives you some ideas about words, but what I often say to people as well is that if it's your first website, it doesn't have to be all singing, all dancing to begin with. Okay, it's a shop window. So at the beginning, even if it's just a one-pager, but it tells the world enough about you as a person and about your services, that's a start. And then you can build on it afterwards. I think often people spend a fortune getting websites designed and written that actually they end up going back and asking them to change it all once they've gone through all the positioning stuff and with us and whatever, because they realize that it's not representative of who they are. So there is this is the other bit, isn't it? It's about checking it. So I mean, I think that's really important, is although all those little bits that Susan's mentioned are really useful, and I think initially you can just do one or two of those things on a single page. Yeah. And as you develop it, that's, you can put more interest and put your blogs on and things like that. That starts it growing, doesn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. And
but I think get something up there is the key, because if you haven't put anything up there, then people can't find you, or they Google you and then they can't see a website, and then they think you're, not a particularly professional business, that has any gravitas.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, I mean, I think a lot of businesses, and I've noticed this more and more recently, not accountants necessarily, but like a cafe or something like that, and they just have a Facebook page. And my heart always sinks when I see that, because there's never enough information, there's never enough detail on there. And I think, a website shows that you're an established business, not just somebody with a Facebook page, basically.
Yeah. Did you want to go through any of this today, or is that for another time?
I think that's probably for another time. I mean,
okay,
do have a look through the resource. It does go into quite a bit of detail about lots of other things on there.
So if I just go back to the top, you can see whizzing past. Lots of stuff. Yeah. So there's an awful lot of stuff about obviously building it, designing it, but also if you are going to use a designer, I really like this section about what to discuss with a potential designer, so that at least you're making, yourself clear. And what I have found in the past is that if you've done the positioning workbook, so that you've sat there and you've worked out what your values are, who your ideal client is, and what services you want to promote and what benefit they give to your client, that can be basically the key to your website. It gives a potential website designer a lot of the content that helps them understand how you want to be positioned out there in the world. So it's definitely worth completing that workbook if you can.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, because I think one of the key points in that section on talking to web designers is they think they're making a website for an accountant, but actually they need to be making a website for your clients. So that, and they, unless you tell them what you want and what you're aiming for, as Emma says, then you'll end up with a website that probably looks like lots of other accountants' websites.
Okay. So we mentioned Google My Business. So I'm just going to show you this is a web page for them about the business profile. So this is the bit where when you Google somebody, you see a photograph and you get this call, directions, save, website, all this other information. And again, it's becoming quite critical, isn't it, with Google measuring whether or not they can find you in a search engine, what information you put in here. And I'm sure Susan's got a lot to say about this, but one of the things that I've noticed when I was Googling some of our members was that this wasn't completed, which means that sometimes it's a bit challenging to find you amongst other things. Secondly, some of these pictures up here are shocking, or they don't have pictures at all. And if you don't have pictures at all, what happens is that sometimes what it does is it just puts in the Google Maps link, which basically just shows a high street,
Yeah,
or a road or somebody's house. So it's much better to have you select your pictures to put in there, preferably some of your team doing things, or something about your environment or the type of clients you want to work with, or something that's very engaging. But you can put multiple pictures in there. So I think it's really important. What we tend to make a decision sometimes on the first image we see. So it's quite important that that image makes sense to us and gives the impression that you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, if say somebody did do a search for an accountant near me, and you'll have seen it where you get a Google map with a list of businesses in that area down the side. That's your My Business profile. So the more you can put on there, the more comprehensive the information, as Emma says, the better. And it's also really important because this is where Google reviews will show up. So you can see on this example here, that's got loads of 5-star reviews. It's got a 4.7 rating, and people really do take notice of that. So if you aren't asking people for reviews on Google, I think it's a really good idea to start doing it. Obviously, you can do it in other places as well, Trustpilot or whatever. But having some reviews on Google is really helpful because people make snap decisions, as Emma said, on the images, but also if, for example, you had, I don't know, a 2-star rating just because one disgruntled client had put a bad review on, that's going to be reflected in those little stars there. So it's a really good idea just to have a look, to Google your own business, see what shows up, and get an idea of what people are finding when they're searching for you or for somebody in your area. Yeah, and it's quite simple to do. I mean, Google can be a bit of a pain to try and work your way through various layers of things, but actually doing the Google My Business thing isn't too difficult at all. And it's information you know already. It's all factual. It's not like you've got to do anything difficult on here. But the more you can put on there, the better. Do you know if all of you have got Google My Business profiles set up?
I assume we have, but I'll have to check with Harry.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that as well. Actually, it's a really good point. It's something I've been, yeah.
Yeah, how about you, Rose? Well, maybe not. Sorry, I can't go.
In chat.
Yeah, let's have a look. Chat. Same for me. Okay, and you, Anki, perhaps you're in the same position. Okay. But yeah, it's okay, well, definitely worth doing. And I mean, one thing I noticed with the AVN My Business page, it's got pictures of our old office building that we moved out of in 2020. And annoyingly, we didn't take those pictures, somebody else did. So we can't take them off. So I've had to go back to Google and say, please, can you remove these because they're inaccurate? But there's no guarantee they're going to do it. So if you get something like that, where you've got something that's wrong, my recommendation is just to put loads more pictures on that are good and that are reflect you in a good way, so that you'll kind of drown out anything that's inaccurate or wrong on there. Right, I'm in a slight problem here because I can't move on the presentation. So I think Emma's just had to go and do a phone call, I think. But let me just see if I can do anything. Okay, what I'll do, I'll just have to leave that up there, and we'll move on to the next section, which is writing a blog, because blogs are a really, really good way to promote yourselves, to make yourselves really visible online, and to show off all those things that Google values: your expertise, your authority, your trustworthiness. And again, we've got a little checklist, which when Emma comes back, I will hopefully be able to get up. Just going through some of the key things to think about when you're writing a blog. And I'll see if I can get it up myself. Just so. Right, and then I'll stop that screen share. And I'll share my screen. I can find what I'm looking for. Here we go. Right. So if, I don't know, do any of you, have you got blogs on your website? Is it something you write yourselves?
It went a bit into, it's kind of intermittent would be a good word for it.
Okay.
It's one of those, this is going to be helpful to say right there. It did occur talking to a couple of friends who are in a similar position. They're not accountants, so it is just businesses. And he said it's the conclusion, you need a pool to get started, so you're not always running as is there. And that's, I think, where we all just went, oh.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, isn't it, to get a pool together? Yeah.
So I don't think it's that difficult. It's something you've got to organize to do.
Sure. Yeah, I know. I think we're the same. We have great plans for doing one a week, and then suddenly it's 2 weeks, and suddenly it's 3 weeks, and before you know it, a month's gone.
These are not accountants' businesses. They are design and sales, training, and so it's not an accountant's problem. It's a generic problem across small businesses.
I think absolutely, yeah. So, well, hopefully this will be a little bit helpful, because it might just get you started and thinking, what can I write about?
We do actually do some blogs, Susan, for a local magazine, which is handy. And then we've joined this retail group as well, and we're doing articles for them. So actually, we do find that really good.
Great.
Even to put on LinkedIn, just that presence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that was one of my points further on, that a blog can actually be repurposed in so many ways. So if you've got one blog, obviously it will go on your website. You can then link to it from social media posts. You can post it separately on Facebook or LinkedIn. It could be a marketing email to send out to your clients. You could even do a video based around it. There's so many ways you can utilize all that information and really make it work for you. I think that's one of the most useful things a blog can do for you. So these are just a few key points that to think about is who you're writing the blog for. So before you start, just think who you're targeting. Yes, hopefully it's your ideal clients, but also it could be a small section of those ideal clients. So it could be a particular business sector or in a particular location. So just keep that in mind. And then as you're writing a blog, if you've got that focus, so you can kind of tailor what you're saying to them, that will make it a lot more relevant to that audience. So what problems are you going to be solving with your blog? What solutions are you giving? And I think there's some really helpful things online to do some research on this. And I've put some of them here. So there's Google Keyword Planner, Answer the Public, or Ubersuggest. And on these websites, you can have a look and you can see what people are searching for. So for example, if it's, say, bookkeeping, you can put that in as a term that people are searching for, but they will show you variations on that. So because obviously you don't want just to write a whole article just on bookkeeping, you want a particular angle for it. And something like Answer the Public is really useful because it shows you actually the number of searches for all these different related search terms. So you can kind of tailor your blog to ones that are having the most searches done. And ChatGPT is also really helpful for this kind of thing. Once you've got a rough idea, if you put a query into ChatGPT, it'll come up with way too much probably information of all different points that you might not have thought about, but again will give you ideas for writing your blog. And the other thing to do at the start is to think what you want people to do after they've read it. Do you want them to contact you? Have you got a form on your website? Do you want them to download a resource that gives them more information? Do you want them to book a call with you? So once you know all these things, it makes it much easier to kind of structure your blog and tailor it so you're narrowing it down at the end. So they're thinking, yes, I do want to do whatever it is you want them to do. And I'll go very quickly through these next few things. So I think you need to get all those things straight first in your head before you start, so you've got a really focused idea of what you're going to be writing about. Do a quick outline. Again, that really helps. So you're not haven't just got loads of information, you're working out how you're going to structure that blog, which points you're going to make and which order. Think of a title. And again, this should really include your keywords. If you can, it should include your keywords, definitely, so that is going to be found in search engines. Try and keep it short and just very simple, like I'm saying here, how to improve cash flow for plumbers. That's very, very basic, but does what it says on the tin, and that's what search engines want. First beginning of your blog, the first few lines should just really hook your reader so they know what you're writing about. They know you're writing for that particular audience, and kind of hint at what they're going to get out of reading it. Write your blog. Just get on with it, I think, is probably the thing, because it's easy to tweak afterwards, but the more you've got down, the easier it is to do that.
And I think pick up on that, just that little point there. It's vitally you don't try and write and edit at the same time. Do one or the other.
Yeah, I would definitely do that.
Write it, then edit it, not tweak it as you go.
Yeah, otherwise, and this is the curse of perfectionism, isn't it? It'll never be right. Yeah, just write it, go back, write it, leave it for a little bit. That's my recommendation, because whenever I do that, I come back and think, oh, why didn't I put that in? Oh no, that would work so much better. I think just a bit of distance really, really helps. And something I forgot to put in this checklist is Grammarly, which is a really, really useful tool, online tool. It's free, and you can just upload what you've written, It will help you make the message clearer. It'll help make it more engaging. It'll tell you when you're using like convoluted language that is going to just, you know, bamboozle the reader. So it's a very, very helpful tool, which, to be honest, I not just forgot to put it in here, I forget to use it myself, but it's really, really helpful. And I think, again, the key is make it easy for the reader. So short sentences, short paragraphs, and no jargon. And then I've put these SEO tips at the end here, which really are what we've already gone over. But this is in the, I had to stop sharing your screen, Emma, and go on to this. So, but all this is in the system builder resource. So shall I stop sharing my screen and we'll go back to the presentation? If I can. Stop share. There we go.
Okay, so if we go back to, oops, sorry. Yeah, so you've gone through loads of this, Guess.
I haven't done all of it, no, because I couldn't move down the
Sorry,
thing.
I'm
So I've
so
just got to
sorry.
go to the bit I know I've got. Don't worry, no problem.
Right. Have you talked about capturing people's details?
Only in that little bit about blogs, but yeah, whether it's a blog or whether it's on your website, the key obviously is to capture the prospects.
Yeah.
And different ways of doing that, as Emma is going to show us, I think.
Yeah, so basically there's a simple one, which is fill out a form. Are you seeing that? Or are you still seeing the slide?
We're seeing the slide at the moment.
Okay, let me just stop share and share my screen. There we go. So this is a simple one, which is where the website just has a form in it. You know, associates, where you just put name, email, phone number, what's your inquiry, and they want to track where you've heard about them. So that's a simple one. You can have a system booked in, like in Iceberg, where actually they've got that sort of thing. You can email Libby, you can call her, you can connect with her, or actually you can book a call. So she's got two here. She calls the first one my chemistry set call, which is her 20-minute, what we'd call a discovery call, wouldn't we? Whether or not we understand each other and we get on really well. And she also offers a 30-minute business improvement call to just get a few little things and actions in place to just prove that she's a great advisor. So for that, if you book, you just get her diary. So you can book in a session. So that's a really nice way. And the third way, obviously, is to give them something in return for getting their email address. So if I just go onto Libby's website again, there's a section called resources. So on the resources, she's got a link to her blog, but she's also created 5 other little resources that people can download and get information. And so for each of these, and again, this is dependent on who she wants to talk to, but maybe time saving is an obvious one. If they want to download the PDF, it asks them just for their email address. So then she's creating then a prospect list to start marketing to. And we're not going to cover that today, but that's, again, you've got to start collecting that information for people who've expressed an interest, but maybe haven't got ready to book a call with you. So I just wanted to show that actually there's a really good way, that the whole point of having the website, the whole point of having all this other stuff, the blogs and everything else, is to get people to connect with you and call you and have a proper discovery call with you. That is really where we wanted them to go, don't we? Because if they've looked at your website, and we've talked about this in other sessions, you know, about designing it so that people who are not your ideal client almost deselect themselves at the beginning so they don't waste your time. But then if they are people who have looked at your website and have been encouraged, then we want them to come back to you. We want them to come and talk to you. So thinking about that, there are, again, lots, I don't know what I've done there. Lots of resources about golden carrots. This is one that Susan has done a huge amount of work, just watching time. But I think possibly you do want to talk about this. So I could do with giving you access again. So basically, if you remember, one of the resources that we created for you quite a while ago is 23 things to expect from your accountant. And it's an idea that talks about all the different things that they should be doing, so they can look at their existing accountant and go, oh, I don't feel that my accountant's delivering this. And so this is the existing system that's in System Builder, and we've updated it this week. So those are the different resources, and also about heart selling. But Susan has created some fabulous resources for you to try and promote this. So it's a ready-made process, which is something we promised you on this thing, was that, you know, it's quite easy saying, oh, go and do this, create your golden carrot, or create your marketing things, but then you've got to spend time doing it. So Susan has been absolutely wonderful, and she's created lots of different things. So which one of these do you want us to talk about first, Susan?
Do you want to have a look at the wording to go with the Facebook ads that's down there? Just the others are some images. Well, there's some images.
The images in here so you can see them.
Yeah. And I think this is, well, it's one aspect that you could use for these 23 things, because the whole point of that is really, is your accountant doing all these amazing things? And quite likely they aren't. So I think a lot of business owners will just think, oh, my accountant only does these few little things. And the idea is to show that you can do a whole lot more. So really, a few words, and all you really need to do is add your contact details when you post this on. And I've said that they're ads, but you could just use them as posts on your Facebook page. And it could also work on Twitter. It could work on LinkedIn. And all you have to do is really download it. And if you don't like the images that we've got there, I don't know if anybody of you have used Canva at all. Has anybody tried that out? No. Just because it is so easy to do. It's so easy to create images on there. We use it for all our sort of marketing images. And to be honest, I think some of these were in my early days of using Canva, so I can get a lot more jazzy with it now. But it's very simple. It's got a whole massive stock of images that you can use, and you just have to put your own text on there. And I'm just going to check. I mean, I can.
You want to show it, Susan?
I could show it. Yeah, I think there's a link on somewhere on the PowerPoint, isn't there, to Canva? Or I can just share my screen and go onto it now.
Yeah, if you want to just share your screen.
And let me just find it open. Hang on a second.
Because you said there's a free version of this.
There's a free version.
Even the paid version is not expensive.
Absolutely. It's £100 a year, and that gives you, sorry, I'm just trying to get my I'm going to stop sharing and then start sharing again. I think that might be the best way to go about it. Sorry about this. Right. I still can't find it. I'm sorry about this, everybody. This is
that's all right. Just trying to find it. I've got
I mean, there's a link on the PowerPoint.
Yes, so let me go and get that.
Yeah,
and then
that might be the best way
to do with it. Okay, so
yeah.
Let me just get back to.
I know I'm conscious of time that we've
just share my screen again.
Yeah.
Right. So let's slideshow. Okay, so let's go to Canva.
So what this is, okay, don't know what that is.
Sorry.
It's very, very easy to get the right sized images for any of your social media posts. So for this one, I've chosen when it says you can create a design, you can just put in LinkedIn. It'll give you the option to create a LinkedIn post. So it's making sure you've got the right size image for that particular platform. I'm going to have to ask you to guide me here, Emma, or to do everything. So if you go over to, say, elements on the left-hand side, say if we're going to use the text that we had before, what does your accountant do exactly? You might want to search for an image that's asking a question. So if we just put question in there.
Oh, can't spell, sorry.
And it gives you, you've got graphics, you've got photos, you can have videos even. And if you went down to, say, photos, Emma, and just see all, you get all these images, and you can just paste that image onto your design. Well, it's just click, actually. Yeah, you can just click. You can pull it around, resize it, whatever you want to do, make it fit the, the shape of the screen. And there are literally thousands of images to choose from. So any particular style that you want, you can do. And then if you go over to where it says text, Emma, on the left-hand side, you've got headings, subheadings, text. So if you want to add, say, a heading, and you just type in, again, whatever you want to say, what does your accountant do, or something like that. You can resize it, you can change the font, and just, again, move that around your design.
Right.
If you just shift, oh, okay.
I've just gone there and then just change that to be a smaller font.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, but we're probably not doing a great example here. I'm sorry, I can't sort of take control, but I just don't seem to be able to. So once you've got an image, and just, no, it's not going to work. You can just download the image. And in fact, Canva also has a social media content planner. So you can actually directly post or schedule your posts from Canva, so you don't have to use any other platform for that. The slight drawback is if you want to post the same thing on different platforms, you have to sort of have a copy the image every time, so you can end up with loads and loads of different images, which I suppose brings us on to the next slide on the presentation, Emma.
Yeah,
which is making it easy and automating your postings on social media. And there are just dozens of scheduling tools. And again, I don't know if anybody's already using anything for posting on social media. Does anybody use that?
Nope, not yet.
Nope.
Just a very small amount, really, just if we're attending like an event or something. It's not really, we haven't used Canva now, so that's interesting.
Yeah, sorry, it was very brief and not very good explanation, but it's really worth having a look because it's so easy to use, and you can get such high quality images from it. That saves you having to trawl the internet for free images, that kind of thing. But obviously you've got all this content now, you've got your blogs, you've got your images, and scheduling it using a content scheduler just makes it so much easier rather than having to sit down and do each one individually. And I think the next slide probably, Emma, has got, this was a list I got from somebody had posted this on LinkedIn of looking at all the different social media scheduling tools, and as you can see, there are loads of them. Some of them are better for one thing than they are for another, and some of them are just so all singing, all dancing, they're probably way more than you actually need. We actually use Buffer, which is very, very simple. You just connect your social media accounts, you've got a calendar, you can just say when you want something to go out, you put all the details in there and it posts it out for you on the appointed time. Most of them will have analytics as well, so you can actually see how well your posts are performing. So you do more of the ones that are working, obviously. And I think most of these will have a free trial as well. So it's definitely worth having a look, having a think about what you want to do. Because I mean, obviously social media isn't your main focus. So I suspect you just want something quite quick and easy that anybody in your team could use is probably a good idea as well. So have a look around. One of them that I've just been looking at recently, I haven't gone into great detail with it yet, is Meet Edgar, where it says you can repost evergreen content automatically. So if you've written a few blogs, it will continue to post those even after the initial rush of sort of posting about your blog and linking to your website to read the blog. It will continue to do that for you, so that you're getting real value from that. While you're away, Emma, we talked a little bit about repurposing, because Angela's doing some blogs already. But these actually really do help you to keep your content going and get new readers for it.
To me, the critical thing for all of these tools is that as an accountant, you're busy enough, okay? But if you can put, I don't know, half a day or a day a month aside where you can write 3 or 4 pieces of information, or just take the ones that we've created. So not only have we done the 23 things, but Susan's done one all around the benchmark software, and there's loads of other resources in there that you can use. But, if you just pick the ones you're going to do and write, get the images you want and whatever else, just spend half a day or a day doing that, you can actually then plan the delivery of that content maybe for the next 12 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Which means that you don't have to think, oh gosh, I've got to write the next one. If you can do a few short ones in the time that you want, then it's really important that you can then sort of make the best use of your time by using tools like this to schedule the posting, so you don't have to think, oh, I've got to remember. The important thing for me as well, make sure that you're aware of when things go out. So if you can be notified, I don't know which ones of these notify you about when they're posting things out again for you, only because, again, if people are coming back to you, oh, I saw your post, it's useful to know which one of them went out this week.
Yeah.
So one of the other things to do is, and I think I've shown it on another one, but I have got it, is there's just a lovely little Google Sheet document that I've got that just allows you to say, right, these are the things and these are when I'm posting them, so that you've got like a calendar of it for you to see. Maybe these do that already, that you can see that. It sounded like Canva allowed you to have a calendar where you could see. But it's good to know what's gone out when, so that you can have a decent conversation with people.
I'm not sure they're so good at showing you what's gone out, just what's coming up. So they'll show you the future, but not necessarily the past. So, but anyway, it's definitely worth having a look around these and just seeing if they suit what you want to do.
Has anybody got any questions?
I suppose just what are your recommendations with this, Susan and Emma, regarding scheduling tools and what you've used?
Well, as I say, we use Buffer, which is
okay.
very easy. I mean, the other thing is LinkedIn allows you to schedule posts now. You can go onto your page and schedule things from there. So if you don't want to get into this whole thing, Facebook, if you've got a business page on Facebook, you can use the Meta Business Suite to schedule posts as well, and that has a whole content planner. The one thing to be aware of, if you want to tag people, say you've got a great client story and you want to put that on LinkedIn, Facebook, if you're using the scheduling tools outside of those platforms, if you're using one of these third-party apps, you can't tag people. So you're kind of lessening your reach and lessening the amplification that you can get when somebody shares a post that mentions them, that type of thing. So that is one thing to be aware of. but like I say, the fact that LinkedIn now allows you to schedule posts, I think is really, really useful, because that's always been a bit of a pain in the past, that you had to go in and either use one of these and not be able to tag people, or just do it there and then. So I would have a look at that as well, definitely. And some of these things like Hootsuite, I think, is very much an all singing, all dancing type of thing. It may just be too much, and I'm not sure also how expensive that is, but it's definitely worth having a free trial of anything that looks interesting to you, I think. Just looking to see if we've got anything else that we wanted to cover. So we're running out of time, or in fact, we've run out of time, I think, already. But does anybody else have any other questions?
No, I just need to think about this and perhaps come back and ask you later.
Well, yes, of course, of course we're here to answer your questions. We'll share the recording. It'll be on the Know-How Hub. And if you want all those documents that we've shown you and the systems that we've shown you on System Builder, again, if you need any help finding those, just let us know. But yeah, hopefully it's been useful. And if you just want to get going, as Emma said, there are 23 things. There's lots of things you can download straight away and just post them up on your website or wherever. So there's things you can get going with right now. Oh, thank you, Rose. That's great. Yeah, so please do let us know anything we can help you with. And hopefully it's all will be a big success. But that's great, Angela, that you're already doing that with the local magazine. That's one of the things we were going to talk about. Yes, getting that kind of relationship going.
Yeah, like I suppose it's great because we have, it's something we're on a deadline to do, say every quarter and that. So it's really good. And as you said, it's just reusing the content then. That was all really helpful. Thank you so much.
Good. Glad. I mean, have you got quite good results from it? What kind of results have you seen from it?
I suppose we potentially got a client out of it, and I think it's just even our presence then on LinkedIn when we do the article, that we can repost it. We just put comments like, oh, that's a good article, good read, and we try to throw in a bit of advertising as well when we do it. Like, say one of our contents now is 7 compelling reasons to outsource your payroll. So sometimes it's kind of like an ad as well. So we don't overly do that as well, but we throw a bit of that into,
Yeah. That sounds great. I mean, it's definitely one of the things that we'd recommend doing. And if you want to have a look on System Builder, there's another resource on PR that also might help, because that covers that kind of thing as well. Okay. So getting the most mileage you possibly can, excuse me, from one piece of content. So yeah, so you don't have to do too many.
Yes.
Well, that's great. I think probably, I'm not sure what's happened to Emma. I know she had to take a phone. She was aware that she might have to take a phone call, so I think she might have had to do that. But I think that's fantastic. So if we end the session now, thanks, Rose. And we'll hopefully see you next week with a bit of luck.
Really. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Susan.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.